Welcome to episode 255 of The Numbers Game. I'm Jace. I'm here with Nick and Marty. Nick, what's happening?
Mate, it's sad, really, and I'm not being sarcastic here. I'm actually being serious. You had a look on your face like I was being sarcastic. Marty, imagine working all your life, which you have. Good Croatian boy. Started at the milk bar very early. Put all your money into super. Get very close to retirement. You go and see what you think is a reputable financial planner, and then one day you log on and you see that your super was 700,000. It is now zero. You're mid-60s. You need to keep working because you had all of your retirement savings in that super fund. How would you feel?
Well, I'm 53 to start with.
Oh, shit, sorry.
Don't just bloody write me straight off. Well, there'd be hell to pay, but I wouldn't know where to angle that hell because, you'd be devastated given how much time you've spent trying to get your retirement sorted. I'd be absolutely pissed.
Yeah. I think this somewhat almost sounds like a far-fetched story, Nick, because isn't super safe?
No,
what are you telling me?
Is super safe. Jace, nothing is safe. You know that. And this is a true story. So at the moment, there's a lot of news floating around the first Guardian Master Fund, which is an investment fund that's gone belly up, basically. And it's estimated that 12,000 Australians have lost possibly around $1.2 billion in super. And we're talking the stories I've seen, people very close to retirement, age 65, possibly 70 in some cases, and then you go back to work. So it's a really bad story and shocking story. But what I wanted to do today was just unpack what actually happened because there's a lot of jargon getting around financial planning words, and people might be thinking, well, First Guardian, trustee platform, super, government, what's actually going on here? So I wanted to unpack that and just explain to people how the financial planning industry works and what would happen if you did go to a financial planner. How would your money be invested and possibly what to look out for? But JC, are you familiar with the story at all?
Look, I've seen the articles pop up, but, it still begs disbelief in a sense that, in this world where super is meant to be our retirement nest egg, it should feel safe. You squirrel it away, we can't touch it. And if we can't touch it, it makes me just go, how can 1.2 billion be wiped and disappear and nobody's really accountable? And, then the questions are going, well, should the government re-top everyone back up? Because, these everyday Aussies that are trying to retire have got no money now. How are they meant to live? So, my brain is spinning. It makes me feel a bit sick, actually.
So how did it happen? Is that what your question is?
Yep. Yeah. How does this happen?
Yeah.
Surely there's systems and checks and things in place that stop things from being mismanaged like this.
Firstly, I'll just explain how it works if you generally, if you're seeing a financial planner. But we are obviously a financial planning business. So as a financial planner, we have access to what's called a platform. So a platform, we use Macquarie Bank, we use Colonial First State. Net Wealth is a big one, and Net Wealth is one of the ones in question. And what happens with that platform is they give you access to different investment funds. So any given platform might have, anywhere from 100 to possibly 300 investment funds that sit on that platform that a financial planner can use and put people's money into. So, Jace, if you came to me, I might have you on, I think you are on the Colonial First State platform.
Certainly am.
Yep, and you might be in 8 different funds that sit on that platform.
Yep.
Make sense?
Yep.
So that platform provider, in your case, Colonial First State, Macquarie, whoever it might be, they bring these funds onto their panel and they approve them through certain checks and balances and whatnot, and that's what part of their offering is or their role is. So what's happened in this case? Let's talk about the platform first. But platforms, equity trustees, Net Wealth, and Macquarie are the names that are popping up. They had on their platform the First Guardian Master Fund.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jace, you come to me, I use Macquarie, I go, I'm going to put you into the First Guardian Master Fund, returns look good. Now, as a client or a consumer, you'd be pretty okay with that. You've gone to what you think's a reputable planner. They put you on the Macquarie platform. So in a lot of cases, people will say, oh, my super's with Macquarie. But it's actually not. Macquarie's the platform.
Yep.
So in this case, the First Guardian Master Fund sat on that platform. So a lot of people many planners, but there's a couple that are under the spotlight, were pushed into that fund via the platform. Everything's rosy, happy days. What has happened is that fund, which is, again, the First Guardian Master Fund, wasn't being run correctly. It was being basically run as a Ponzi scheme. That's what we know so far. So the funds weren't getting invested like they were meant to be. So if you read a PDS, it'll tell you how the funds are invested within that fund. What was happening is the directors inside that fund, or the people running the fund, were using the money for personal use. Just to rattle a few things off, Lamborghini keeps getting mentioned, but that is such a small amount. Obviously they went and caught up with one of the directors, and he had a Lamborghini, I guess. So, but that's not where that's not where most of the money's gone. $240 million went to offshore investments. $69 million went to related entities of the people running the fund. And I think property development was a big one. They'd taken people's money and gone into property development.
Wow.
And what they were doing to pay people's returns, and this is the definition of a Ponzi scheme, they weren't investing the money like they said they were. Jace, you put your money in because you've just signed up to the fund. Your money is then paying Marty's returns, or if Marty needs to access his money. So this goes around. It's exactly what Bernie Madoff did, anyone who's familiar with that story. So this is what was happening. And then what has then happened is the First Guardian Master Fund has gone into liquidation because no money spent in the wrong ways. People's super funds gone to zero. So that's basically what has happened in a nutshell, as far as the fund going into liquidation and people losing their money. What is also go back a step. So what's under the spotlight is how was that fund allowed on those platforms, and what kind of checks and balances were being made. So that's the first big issue. The other big issue that's come to light is how everyday Australians were actually getting put into this fund. Now, there was a particular business, I won't mention names because there's still a bit of water to go under the bridge, but there was a particular business that was telemarketing. So telemarketing means I've got a big database of people's phone numbers. I'm going to ring them. I'm going to telemarket or try and create a lead out of that phone call for superannuation. I'm then going to bring that person into my business, and I'm going to put them into a particular product. So there was a business that was doing a lot of this, and what has come to light is that First Guardian Master Fund was actually paying this financial planning business fees to market or to telemarket, and then put people into their fund. Now that's a no-no. So as a financial planner, the only fees we can take are from a client. We charge a client a fee. Jace, you're a client of ours, you would know. Every year you sign off on that fee. There's no under the table stuff. So what they've worked out was the First Guardian Master Fund was paying this financial planning business money to spend money on Google AdWords and drive lead flow into their business. And they were then promoting, over market or over average returns and whatnot. So you could be just sitting at home, like a lot of people in this age bracket are. They're either in retirement or close to retirement. They get a phone call. They get sold to, basically. It then goes into a financial planning business, which was like a conveyor belt, numerous different people involved in the process. And this particular business, their volumes just shot up because they were obviously had a big advertising spend. It was like a conveyor belt, and they were promising over market returns. So that is basically what has happened in a nutshell. And ASIC are now looking heavily into that particular financial planning business. There's a lot of advisors that have lost their ability to advise and their license. They're looking into the trust. They're obviously looking into the directors of the Guardian Master Fund, but they're also looking into those platforms and what checks and balances did those platforms do to have them on there in the first place and allow advisors to have access to them. So it definitely opens a can of worms because these are everyday platforms, and a lot of funds on these platforms are good funds. This one has slipped through the guard. So it's pretty bad. The problem at the moment is the First Guardian Master Fund. There's no money there. So as far as getting money back to the people that have lost it, the only way the government does that is they're looking at suing the trustee, suing the platforms, and trying to get money back that way.
Does that mean Macquarie foots the bill, as an example?
Well, yeah, Equity Trustees, Net Wealth, Macquarie, yep. So they would pay some money. What makes me irate as a financial planner, or I've got a financial planning business, we have to contribute annually to a compensation fund that's there for people that need to be compensated from people doing the wrong thing in our industry. So there's a maximum of 150,000. So every year we get a levy, whether we've done wrong or not. Every year we've got a levy that we've got to contribute to. That basically is a pool of money ready there to compensate people. So as a financial planning business, our levy, I think, is about to go up considerably because there's going to be a lot of money involved here. And the reality is that just then goes back to our clients because for us to run a successful business, we need to charge fees. So if our levies go up, we want to keep our doors open. The fees for clients have to go up. So yeah, it's a really sad story, and I really do feel for the individuals that have lost the money. As financial planners, we understand the role we play in helping people sleep at night and protecting their money. So to wake up one day and log on and see a zero balance is really, for me, hard to even comprehend or understand. But I just wanted to explain what exactly happened, and then also what I will touch on, I'll throw to you guys first, but is just what to look out for. How can nothing is 100% safe. There's a lot of people saying that, I thought super was government guaranteed. Well, it's not at all. It's got nothing to do with the government guaranteeing any of your funds. So I want to just go through a couple of flags that people could look out for to make sure they're not in this situation. But yeah, have I covered the story? It all makes sense?
Oh, it's a brilliant cover, Nick, because like you said, you hear it on news, but you don't get the full story. Like, you understand the end impact, but just to have it broken down like that is like straight away I go, well, how can we guarantee our safety? And you can't. It's like, so there's got to be a lot of work done to reestablish trust. And there's so many questions on this, but but well explained.
I'm still gobsmacked that how many industries can you work in where you cop a levy that goes into a fund to then reimburse people when somebody else does the wrong thing like that? That's
both of our industries, mate. We cop one in the mortgage business as well. So it's called the compensation scheme of last resort, and the industry collectively has to contribute to that. And it's going up considerably. We've got a diminishing amount of advisors for reasons such as that. It's getting harder and harder. But we have one in the mortgage business as well. So there's two sets of fees we get every year.
Crazy.
Red flags. Marty, what's the first red flag for you? Is there anything there that I mentioned you went, oh, well, probably wouldn't have done that?
Definitely the nil balance had me. But apart from that, if something wasn't stacking up, I think, or communication was off, or something that was structured that was happening consistently and it fell away in some way, shape or form. But apart from that, I don't know.
Oh, I'll give you a really simple one.
Yep.
Never go in and take advice or follow a process that has started from a cold call.
Mm-hmm.
Never do that, because if you look at all of the industries that cold call, it's generally where there's opportunity. So it might be a government-backed scheme, like the bats. What's it? The insulation bats.
Then you got the LED light changing, and
yeah. So people see an opportunity and they see, okay, there's a big pool of money here to come in. I've then got to find lead flow really quickly. How do I do that? I telemarket. I spend money on Google AdWords. I do all this kind of stuff where I spend money to try and attract mass people. So and it's not just cold calling. Cold calling's old school. Now it's also, online, if you're searching online, be very, very wary of following a process that sucks you in some way, whether it be higher returns. If you need to see a financial planner, the first thing you should do is you should go to your own network or your own centers of influence. So go to your accountant, go to your mortgage broker, go to your family and friends, or go to your circle, your colleagues, whoever it is, and say, hey, anyone who you have heard is a good financial planner. Have you dealt with them personally? That to me is the best thing you can do when you're trying to source a financial planner. Do not go online. Do not take a phone call from someone and then follow a process. Go to people you know and trust, because then you'll be referred to someone who they've already dealt with in most cases, and whether they've been dealing with them for a long time or a short time. So that's probably the first red flag I would say. Be very wary when you're on the internet, Google searching, or if your phone rings and someone tries to tell you your super is underperforming over the phone. That's the first red flag I would say. Jace, you're nodding your head?
Yep. Yeah, big one. I mean, I hate cold calls. Like, so, but I think there's a different generation out there where our parents, or our parents' parents don't, they get a call and maybe that becomes an opportunity. Like, oh, I didn't know that. And then they, get sucked in and start listening. And next thing it's logging in and passwords and getting scams. And so big red flag.
I'm really concerned too with AI in regards to, a mate was telling me about, he got caught up in some sort of Twitter scam in regards to his savings that was recommending a platform and lost about 40%. So what he was searching in things like Grok and searching on ChatGPT, I think it was Grok actually, but then all of a sudden he was getting adverts and stories linked to his search mechanisms, and then he got sucked into something. And he's a pretty sophisticated type of guy. And we talk about cold calling, but we are being cold called every micro minute based on our search and our interests, and that is scary for the everyday person.
So that's the first thing that I would say. Second thing is, if you are unsure at all, or you're pretty sure but you're not quite sure, go and see people face to face. I think it's one of the best things you can do is trust your gut. When you're in front of people, you can generally get a sense as to whether or not you would trust them. Now, there's no science behind that. It just is what it is. And, I say this and I'm very mindful that some of our clients we've never met. Some of our clients, it's through Teams or Zoom, but most of our clients come through people like Jace. There's a connection already. But if you're online and you don't know anyone else who knows these people, the second thing I think you should do is go in for a meeting and sit across from that particular advisor and just get a feel. You will know if something's off or not in most cases. Have a look at the environment they work in. Is it a nice environment? Is there other people in the business? Is it a good vibe? All these things will give you your gut feel as to whether or not this is the right decision. So that's another, again, no science behind it, but it's something that can really point you in the right direction, in my opinion. It's not foolproof, but I think it can play a major role. The third thing I'd say is if there's a lot of people in the process, that to me is also a red flag, as in before you've actually got to the advisor. So in our business, the advisor will meet. We have a lot of people that support the process, but they're administration people that help the implementation. The advisor is with the client from start to finish. And in this particular business, there was 2 or 3 people across the file. Someone was doing the initial pitch. So whoever was on the telephone doing the pitch, they weren't even a financial planner. They were a telemarketer that would have been, and I can tell you how it would have worked. They would have been paid per lead that came across. So the only job they had to do was get your name across to that next person in the next person in the cycle. So if you're with a financial planning business, 99.9% of the times, the first meeting you have will be with the financial planner, and they will be with you from start to finish. So that's another red flag. If there's a couple of people involved, someone's trying to pitch the idea to you, then someone's collecting your data, and then you're going over here, who have you really got that relationship with? because that just means you're in a business that's got a process that's trying to do mass volume. And in most cases, mass volume comes with other red flags that you should be looking out for.
Moving someone through the process and the steps rather than being with them and taking them on a journey in a partnership.
Well, a partnership, I think and look, the financial planning business industry has come a long way. Now it's about holistic advice. So, we've done some recent episodes on investing, and 90% of the value that we add is not the investments. The investments is actually the easy piece for us, because now there's good managed funds, there's ETFs where you can get a market return. Most of the value we add is, Marty, what does the next 5 years look like for you? Do you want to send Charlie to private school? Have you got to look after older parents? All these things, that's where we add value, just helping people tick off their personal goals. If you're in a chain,
very human in this AI and technology-focused world, that's a very human element.
What I can almost guarantee you with this particular financial planning business that was putting these people into this product was the whole pitch would have been around superannuation returns. It wouldn't have been a case of, hey, tell me about what the next 5 to 10 years looks like for you. The whole pitch would have been, we'll get you above market returns. And another red flag.
I was about to say, that sounds like a pretty big flag there, Nico.
Yeah. So it sounds simple, but when you're at home and the phone rings and you want to do the best you can with inside of your super, you're probably susceptible to listening to these people. And these people are good at what they do. These telemarketing people, they're not financial planners. And these the people that create Google AdWords, they know what they're doing. They know the hooks. They know how the human mind works. So even if you think you know and you think you're aware of the red flags, there's every chance they'll find a way around that because they know how to do it. So they're the three big things for me. Make sure that if you get there through the internet or it's a cold call, it's generally someone trying to sell to you. Look for someone who's already got a relationship with that individual advisor, whether it's your accountant, whether it's a friend of yours, family, someone who's been through the process and has experience with them over the long term. And do your best to get in front of these people. Go and look at the environment they work in. Does it look like it's been there for a long time? Does everyone seem happy in there? What's the culture like? That can go a long way to eliminating the risk, but you cannot eliminate the risk. Super is not government guaranteed. This money is invested in markets, in funds, so you need to dot your I's and cross your T's when you're investing your money with someone.
Where do you stand, Nick, as a planner? Like, let's say you did put someone into that fund because it met the criteria of their goals and the plan. What's your obligation then as a planner? Let's say you did put someone in there. What happens to the planner in that situation?
And this is one of the big issues at the moment because there's a particular planner that ran the business in question. His argument is, well, we're reliant on our licensee and the trustee providers, the platform providers to do these checks and balances. So I can only imagine that there's a number of planners that have put people into this fund completely unaware of the risks attached because they were being presented a different story. I don't feel sorry for this particular planner because he was taking marketing money. That to me is a red flag for him. You just cannot do it. And we're talking millions. I think the figure was 19 million that went to his business to market. So, but I've got no doubt there's legitimate planners who have put people into this money, into this fund, purely thinking they were doing the right thing. Now, the other thing is too, and this is something that hasn't been spoken about, but if you had 100% of your money in that fund, in most cases, most planners wouldn't do that. Your money would be diversified across numerous different funds. Even if that fund had diversification in front of it, a lot of the times you won't be in one fund. So these people were all in one fund as well. But as a planner, and I don't want to, I'm not trying to protect the planning industry here, but there is only so much you can do. So our business, we have a licensee, so we're under Centrepoint Alliance, who's our licensee. So we have to pay them a fee every year, and they make sure we do the right thing, basically. And then Centrepoint Alliance, they have what they call an approved product list. So on that approved product list will be all different platform providers. So our business, Innovate, cannot go beyond Centrepoint Alliance, their approved product list. So there's a couple of layers where you think, well, if it's on that approved product list, I should be fine to go into that fund. So the question is, how did First Guardian Master Fund get onto those approved product lists in the first place? So there's a few issues here, negligence, whatever it might be. It's, as a planner, maybe you did it. How much can you check? You can't follow around the director and understand how they're spending that money if they're reporting returns that are not necessarily factual.
Geez, you'd think where there's smoke, there's fire. Like if they're on the platform, someone would be doing their due diligence in regards to each fund and auditing it. You'd think so. But
ASIC are under fire here, mate, because ASIC's the regulator here, and what has come out in the wash is ASIC were warned about this in 2022, I think, so a few years ago, and didn't act on it for unbeknown reasons yet. No doubt that'll all come out in the wash. But as a regulator, ASIC has a lot to answer for. Because they regulate the industry and there's an issue. So you have to go to the regulator and say, well, what checks and balances have you got in place? And if there's evidence that you were warned about this in 2022 and didn't act on it, that is a real problem. And particularly for me as a planner, I get really angry about it because I'm contributing money to ASIC to protect against this stuff.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to have to contribute more because of incompetence. So it's as sad as it is for these individuals, it makes me super angry as well that we're in this industry and the regulators, trustees of platforms and whatnot trustees and platforms can let it go this way.
It's great advice on the red flags too, Nick. I think, in this day and age more than ever, we just got to be on our toes. Everyone's quick to want to take your money. And again, you got to do your own checks, have your own boundaries around it, ask the right questions, and like you said, get to know what the integrity play is of who you're dealing with. It's so vital. But I feel sad for everyone. I feel sad for the people who lost the money. They've worked all their lives to accomplish it. I just can't imagine how they would feel. Like you just can't even. And then I would think of the planners that are trying to do the right thing that have been misrepresented by ASIC not doing their job. It's like, and again, how do you now build confidence around it? I know it's a one-off, but
I should mention too, there's 3 funds, not just First Guardian. So it's First Guardian, Shieldmaster, and the Australian fiduciaries that are all tied up in this. And
same issues across the board.
Yeah, and it's not just the ASIC levy that we've got to pay. It's the phone calls we get from our existing clients that go, hey, is everything okay here? Because we use Macquarie as a platform.
Yeah.
And Macquarie Bank, they're one of the biggest investment groups in the world. So it creates a lot of work for us that's unnecessary work, because now we've got to, not just us, all planners might be getting calls from 20% of their client base questioning what they're doing, So it's more work without any revenue attached, and it just makes it harder and harder to be a financial planner. So, I think there's obviously a lot of media floating around, but inside the industry, there's a lot of anger. About how this is all panned out. So,
just a quick one, Nick. I just logged into my Colonial First State account for the first time, because obviously got an advisor and deal with yourself and Macy at Innovate. It looked like there was an option for me to go and move my money around if I wanted to within that. Like, is that something that I have full control, like I have control over, to be able to do myself? And I don't know if I want to be trusted to do that.
So if you're I wouldn't think you could. I think you'd have to come via us. But if you're in a retail fund or an industry fund these days, you can choose how your money's invested yourself. No problem. Australian Super, I know for a fact you can go on there and just change your funds around. And it's, within reason. Like the thing with industry funds is they won't have 200 funds on the platform. They'll only have a handful. But yeah, you can do that now.
Yeah,
but you can't choose. You can't choose the fund, like as in Colonial First State. If you're with them direct, there's a certain amount of funds on the panel. You don't have you can choose which ones you go into, but you can't choose who's on the panel, and that's the big issue here.
Yeah.
How did they get on the panel?
Yeah, no, cool. Yes, because I mean, just when you said this, I looked at a few other things that popped up around. Australian Super. There was a few members that lost 500,000 across 4 different accounts. That was around, I think it was credential stuffing. Somebody got their logins and passwords and were able to move their money around. Then you ripped on a few examples of the AFL, First Guardian, Shield Master Fund. Again, so at the start of the episode, I said, isn't super safe, and I think there is that. Not a misconception, but we get told that this super is put away and we can't touch it. It's there for our retirement, but there's even if it's a small chance, if something goes wrong, it can actually go really wrong. So I think once again, one of the messages we always share here around is education. That wealth is knowledge is wealth and power. To understand where your money is invested, and if you don't understand this, it's never too late to take an interest in it now. And I think, if anything, even earlier on, if you're in your 30s or your 20s and you think, super, what's the point? Getting involved now just sets you up for that financial success long term, to take an interest, partner up with an advisor and invest in a way that actually gets you excited about where your money is and what it's doing. So, appreciate the warning and the red flags, Nick. I think it's a valuable lesson for our audience out there, and appreciate you tuning in. If you are new to the show, click subscribe, click follow on Spotify or Apple. If you're here on YouTube, thanks for joining us and looking at our faces. Until next time,
protect your money, protect yourself, get the right guidance. Game over.
This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. The conversations are of a general nature and do not qualify as financial or tax advice. We recommend before you make any financial decisions, you consult a licensed professional. Individuals on the podcast may hold positions in the companies discussed.